Welcome to Priceless Takes.
And we are live from the Gold Coast, Australia. Welcome back, everyone, to Priceless Takes, episode 79. I'm your host, Luca Price, and joining me today is the usual crew who all seem to have picked the wrong teams that are going to make the NBA Finals. Oscar, Tyson, Ruben, how are we today, fellas?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, a bit better.
We're good, Nico. We're good.
Listen, I'm not going to gloat just yet, but considering I'm the only one that has the Pacers Thunder final series predicted, and they are the two teams that are up 3-1, I am going to bask in a little bit of premature glory. But that's where we're going to start, guys. As we are recording just after the Pacers have gone up 3-1 against the Knicks as a matter of minutes, Halliburton triple-double leads the Pacers to victory, now putting them one win away from the finals. He finished the game 32, 12, and 15. Siakam, who's had a big series, had another 30-point game. And the third person that came along for the ride, an unusual suspect in this series and in these playoffs, Benedict Mathurin, 20 points, 5 of 8 shooting. And only in 12 minutes, guys. Brunson had 31 on the other side. Cat had 24 and 12. OG had 22. But it just wasn't enough. The Knicks couldn't get within 6 points in the fourth quarter after they had a big 20-point comeback in Game 3 to see them try to level up the series 2-2 today. Now they go back to New York down 3-1 in the series on the brink of elimination. Oscar, what are your thoughts on this series and what is the biggest reason the Knicks are down 3-1?
I mean, the Pacers haven't really put a foot wrong. I mean, you look at last game or 2 games ago now when they did lose, the Knicks were actually able to get stops and actually able to build that comeback like they did against the Celtics. But since then, and before then, they haven't put a foot wrong in terms of offense or defense. They've clamped up pretty well, and on offense, the high flying Pacers, they're putting up crazy shots and making everything, and it is really hard to stop them. I just do think that, especially in today's game, I was just looking in that fourth quarter, and God, there are some tired bodies on that Knicks team. And I think last game when they did use or 2 games ago, when they did use the bench a little bit more, they were looked a bit better in that last quarter to actually mount that comeback. But today they looked really, really tired. So I think it's a bit of a combination of the Pacers not really putting a foot wrong and the Knicks, slowly withering away late in this playoffs series.
Yeah. Look, I was just gonna say, I know Tibbs' play style is just, putting his starters on for God knows, 2 seconds rest.
Forever.
And I'm sure, I know their conditioning is great, but when you come up against a pretty well-oiled machine as the Pacers, where all their starting 5 and then bench players are still refreshed,
It's
still
bound to
matching
tire
the
you
same.
out.
Yes, keep matching this the same energy all throughout the game, and they don't slow down. I was going to say that the Pacers this series just haven't looked like they've had a really bad stretch where they're looking like they're slowing down at all. Maybe when Tyrese is off the court, but they just look too solid at the moment, and there's no real slowing down for them. I guess it's just a bit too late. The Knicks leave it in the last quarter. Yeah.
Look, I think Pacers' offense has just been outstanding. Again in this series, besides Game 3, they've shown that 50-40 club, which they've predominantly shown in this playoffs, and I just think their offense overall has prevailed. We're talking about fatigue here, but you look at Indiana, they've got TJ McConnell. You had, I had a mind blank. Obi Toppin make a clutch 3 today to basically see off their end. They've just got a lot of players that are able to come off the bench, step up, and contribute to that 50-40 offense. And I think it's just come down to the Pacers of having a better offense than the Knicks.
And my question to you then, Ruben, in response is, I guess this is a question to the three of you in general, but Ruben, I'll ask you, what has gone differently in this series than you expected? Because you picked the Knicks to win this series. What has gone differently than how you originally saw it turning out?
I think the offense for the most part, consistently keeping up that 50-40, I didn't think it was going to be sustainable, but they have been able to keep it sustainable. And I just think that bench production and having multiple people step up in that conference finals, because we're yet to see the Pacers. Like, I know I'm going to sound salty, but they're yet to face a fully healthy team. Knicks don't have any excuses for health. And the Pacers have just been better overall. The Knicks just haven't been able to step up to the occasion.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wonder who must have said that in the last episode where having rest a healthy team. I don't know who said that, but yeah, no, definitely the shooting splits. That was really surprising for me because as we saw in the first game, Neesmith 8 from 9 from three, which is ridiculous. A six in the last 5 minutes. I didn't think it was possible. But one thing I wasn't expecting was the Knicks' offense to be quite, I guess, held up to an extent, as Jalen Brunson seemed to be holding the rock almost 14 seconds of the shot clock, 15 seconds, trying to set something up, and then they settle for a pretty awful shot in the end of things. Little bit unsure what their plan is there, but I guess trying to get other people involved. And like at the end of the game today, they were sort of only finding Mikal Bridges just at the end there for quite a few possessions. So I don't know. I feel like everyone should try to get involved a bit more instead of targeting just one player consistently.
Well, I was just going to say as well,
I think
quickly, that,
No, you're right.
Mikal Bridges had some really good fourth quarters against the Celtics. Like we saw game one, game two, was able to get those defensive stops and then even offensive production as well. But it's just, none of that's just shown from the Knicks from what we've seen from rounds 1 and 2.
I think Tibbs, in my opinion, has shown the ability to go into his players on the bench. We've seen DeLon Wright in this series. We've seen Shamet in this series. We've even seen Precious Achiuwa sometimes in this series, where I felt that he was reluctant to do that in previous series. But the thing is, the Pacers just have so much more depth. And the other point I was saying on Brunson is their two biggest runs have actually come without Brunson in these playoffs. The first one in game 1 and the second one in game 3 when Cat had the 20-point fourth quarter, which would, no matter what happens in this series, I think was a bit of a legacy moment for Karl-Anthony Towns because he had 6 points through 3 quarters, 20 points in the fourth quarter, and that was a huge moment for him, particularly in a win, because we know what New York is like. If they had gone down 3-0 and Karl-Anthony Towns finished the game under 10 points, that would have been a massacre, particularly when Giannis might be on the trading block this offseason. So I think Karl-Anthony Towns in that game 3 really, really saved the Knicks. But the Pacers just continue to keep it up, guys. And this is why I picked them. And health or not, the Pacers have shown for 2 years now, okay, no matter the opposition, because at the end of the day, guys, you can only play who's in front of you, okay? And that's what the Pacers have done. And, sometimes we see teams slack off when they play, teams that are maybe injured, but everyone from the Pacers, and if I'm being honest with you, this has even been a subpar series for them in terms of their efficiency, because everyone on the Pacers right now is either shooting above 50% from 3 or below 30% from 3. Okay, Nembhard, who had a great series against the Knicks last year, hasn't been playing very good. Brunson's still averaging 34 points per game. Karl-Anthony Towns still averaging 26 points per game. But, Oscar, I think you hit the nail on the head. Because the pace of the game is inflated, there's a couple of things that we see happen. One, I think everyone's scoring averages get inflated because there's just more points throughout the course of the game. Two, okay, the fouls get inflated, and we've seen the Knicks get into some foul trouble throughout this series because the Pacers move the ball with such efficiency and they move the ball so quickly. Brunson's been in a lot of foul trouble. Ruben, you talked about Cat, who gives up a lot of cheap fouls. He's been in some foul trouble this series as well. Okay, but at the end of the day, the Knicks are getting tired, and that's because the Pacers can come at you from so many different angles, and we saw it today. The fact that even though it was 47 seconds left, a complete defensive lapse, 2.7 seconds on the clock, it's Obi Toppin, but it's a wide open three-pointer, and boom, that's your series gone right there, in my opinion at least. I don't know what you guys think. I think the way that the Pacers shoot so efficiently, I think it's very unlikely that in the next 3 games, they're going to have 3 very inefficient performances, which is what I think it would take. Because when the Pacers are playing at their best, I think they are better than the Knicks at their best. And I don't think the Knicks are going to be able to pull 3 games in a row when at least one of those games, the Pacers will be playing at an extremely high clip Ruben, do you give the Knicks any chance to come back from 3-1, or are you going to call it right now?
I have to be fair. I think I have to call it just because, like you said, they would have to have 3 bad games in a row. And when you look at the sample size of the playoffs overall, they haven't really shown that. I think they've had one off game against Cleveland, and that's why they won by 20, and then one somewhat off game against Milwaukee, where I think Gary Trent had like 37 points. So I think just looking at that, I see it very hard for New York to come back down 3-1.
Yeah,
mean, oh, there you go.
yeah. Well, I've sort of got two perspectives: a logical and then a fan perspective. Like the fan perspective, I've got the Knicks coming back in 7 and featuring an OG buzzer beater. But logical
In game 7.
in game 7. Logical thought process. I don't think Pacers are going to give up 3 games. No matter home or away, it's proven it's not really a factor in this series. I think they're just going to keep going through at the same pace. Even if they're playing still off, they're still pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not over, and I think in the Knicks locker room they probably believe that it's not over just yet, but it seems pretty over from our perspective, doesn't it? I think the Knicks will have to play like they did in game 1 and 2 of the Celtics games and be able to get stops and put on runs. And can they do that for 3 games? I probably don't think so. I would love them to. It would be fantastic if they did, but I don't think that's going to happen.
The Knicks, in my opinion, need to find a way, and I think this is hard because Brunson and Cat are already doing so much offensively, but you can't be having Halliburton and Siakam cook you both for 30 in the same game, okay? And that's why you went out and got OG and you got McHale, and we saw it in the Celtics series. It worked then, although Tatum was out. But now we're seeing in a series like this, even in game 2, when Halliburton didn't have a great game, Siakam cooked you for 40 points, and the Pacers still ended up winning. So I think the Knicks really got to find a way to conserve OG and McHale on the defensive side of the ball as much as they can. And OG in particular looked gassed. He was 1 for 7 from 3 today, okay? And it's a lot of times he still had, I think,
Tweaked his
22
ankle
points
as well,
for
I
the
think, at the
game.
end of the game.
Sorry?
Tweaked his ankle at the end of the game as well.
He did. And Karl Anthony Towns actually looked like he had a problem with his knee
bang
as
knees.
well. So that's something to monitor as well. But at the end of the day, guys, when you're playing at that pace, you're going to get tired, you're going to get fatigued, you're going to get injured. And that's something that comes with the Pacers. And it happened last year, like in that series. It happened later in the series, the Knicks injuries. But the Knicks, in my opinion, need to find a way, okay, to really... And it starts with Karl Anthony Towns, in my opinion, to be honest with you, because we know what Brunson's going to give you. Brunson's going to give you 30 plus, okay, in this series. And for the Knicks to be the most effective, Cat needs to be on... Cat should not be getting outplayed by Siakam in this series. Okay, he didn't in game 3 and the Knicks won. But every other game, Siakam, except for maybe game 1, but that was still the Halliburton game as well, Siakam should not be better than Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns should be well above the level of Siakam, in my opinion, and that's why they got them. So the Knicks need to find a way to conserve defensive energy, in my opinion, but I do not see them coming back. The one thing I will say is, guys, when we talk about 3-1 leads, usually it is the team, if you have the home court advantage, okay, down 3-1, because at the end, the 2 out of the next 3 games will be in New York.
Yeah, but it also is very difficult that closeout game is one of the most difficult games in basketball. So I think the Knicks might win the next game, but doing that for 3 games, I think, will be a very tough challenge.
And I don't think New York have necessarily been amazing at home either in this playoff series. I've seen them drop a couple of games. Yeah.
As we said last episode, none of us really thought that home court was much of a factor in this series. So,
Oscar, are you picking the Knicks to win Game 5 then?
I think closeout game, very hard game to win. I think the Knicks can win the next one, and I don't think they're going to win the series, but I think they can win one more.
I think Pacers are just too good, and I think Halliburton will have a masterclass in Game 5 at their ground. I I see Pacers winning Game 5.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Who's reffing? Is Scott Foster
The extender.
the extender reffing, or what's the plan?
That's a great question. I'm gonna look that up. I don't even know if they have the referees yet.
They
I
probably
thought
don't.
Scott Foster was refereeing the OKC series.
I don't know. They need him for the Knicks. They need him for the Knicks series if they want a few more seats sold at Madison Square. So
Yeah, no, I don't think they have the referees. You'd be able to find them somewhere.
yeah,
I might have a little bit of a look, but yeah, listen, I'm very, very tempted to pick the Pacers to win Game 5, but I think there is a chance the Knicks are shot in the heart, but I think New York, considering this is their first real chance at a championship in 30 years, I would like to think they have a bit more fight in them.
those closeout games are tough to win.
They are tough to win. But
win.
look, the Pacers have been there before, and in that game against Cleveland as well, they closed them out in Cleveland on their home court. So, it's not like the Pacers, the moment is too big for them, and that was with a healthy Cleveland team as well in that Game 5, albeit since we talk about health so much on this show. I think the Knicks, they're at home. They need to show up. We all know that. And I think with the crowd behind them, I think the Knicks are going to pull it out. I do expect it to be a close game, though. I'm not sure how I feel about the Halliburton masterclass because he has been so inconsistent this series. He's had 2 games with 30 plus. He's had 2 games below 18. So for me, it's really a coin flip for Halliburton. But I'm going to pick the Knicks in a in a close game. I'm going to pick the Knicks in a close game. I think they're not going to back down just yet from the Pacers.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think the Knicks what do you think changes for the next game? Like let's say Pacers are still shooting their efficiency right now, not stopping. What do the Knicks have to do you think to win that game? Like, what do you think they're doing differently?
Well, there's a few things.
Do you think it's bench production or start? Macau Hart actually
at this point, I think a part of it is nearly beating the Pacers at their own game. I think, and that's what I mean. I think it goes twofold. Like, you need more out of Karl Anthony Towns, which, considering he's averaging 26 and 11, might be a bit harsh, but you still need more out of him when the games are so high scoring. And you need to figure out a plan to at least eliminate one of Halliburton or Siakam, okay? Because when both of those players are cooking, it's very hard for you to win. But I think there isn't really much the Knicks can do, because even when you do eliminate Halliburton, like we saw in Game 2, okay, or Siakam in Game 1, Neesmith can go off, Mathurin can go off. Anyone can do it. So I think the Knicks probably need to beat them at their own game and have a historic offensive performance of their own.
I think it's also down to the Knicks being that fourth quarter team. We've seen them in the fourth quarter just dominate, and they haven't really, except the game that they won, they haven't really.
Brunson had 2 points today in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they haven't really done that, and they're known as this fourth quarter team that can build, chain together some stops and then chain together some scores and get right back into the game and then win. So I think it's also comes down to going back to that Knicks team where they were able to do that, because they've just not been the same team against these Pacers. I think it's because they've just been gassed because of how fast this Pacers team plays.
Yeah. The other thing as well, and the Knicks did do this to an extent in this game, is try get to the free throw line. They were +7 on free throws today, I'm pretty sure. I would want them to see them keep doing that, because then, the Pacers can't get out in transition as much when they're taking the ball out from the baseline, as opposed to getting a rebound and being able to push the ball. And then also that puts them in foul trouble as well. Yeah. So I think that's another thing that the Knicks got to really, really try to do. But as what I was saying before, is it's hard when you're so tired from defending the pace of Indiana, then you end up settling for threes. So I think the Knicks need to be really disciplined and as much as they can try attack the basket and get the Pacers in some foul trouble, particularly if they can get them in early foul trouble, which is one of the best ways we've seen in the playoffs to neutralize them on the offensive side of the ball when their offensive playmakers have to come out early.
Yeah, I would agree.
Listen, my on the Siakam thing, actually, it is actually interesting because at the start of the series, I did tip Siakam to have 15 points, 5+ rebounds in every game. And he had 4 rebounds in game 3. But apart from that, he's hit that over in every single game thus far. So I still will take, somewhat of a good tip, but very unlucky from that perspective. We're going to move to the Western Conference, guys, where on the other side, we have another 3-1 lead that just occurred yesterday. The OKC Thunder win game 4 in Minnesota. Okay, now they travel back to Oklahoma for game 5. The Timberwolves blew out the Thunder by 42 points in game 3 after going out down 0-2 on the road. But OKC wins game 4, 128-126 on the back of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 40-point performance. J-Dub putting on 34 points and Chet Holmgren 21, 95 points combined for the big 3 of the Thunder, which is pretty impressive. The other 6 players of the Thunder scored the remaining 33 points. Anthony Edwards in game 4, 16 points, 5 of 13 shooting. Julius Randle, someone that I may have prematurely apologized to for his play earlier in the playoffs, has seemed to have reverted back to his old self. 5 points for the game, 1 of 7 from the field, 5 turnovers, 0 second half points. And guys, in a game where Minnesota's bench gave you 64 points and let you be this close in the game, Ruben and Tyson, you guys are probably kicking yourselves. But I am going to go to you, Oscar. Is this series over? And what is the biggest reason OKC are up 3-1 right now?
I think this series is completely over. I've got 0 chance of the Timberwolves coming back. I just think, we talked about, or the other two talked about OKC not being that impressive in the last couple series. And what I said last episode was, well, I think they're just opening up now. And it seems like, apart from was it game 2 or game 3 even, they've seemed like that they've gone back to that regular season form. Just their defense. I'm pretty sure everyone with substantial minutes last game got a steal. I mean, their defense is ridiculous. The team defense is absolutely beautiful to watch. And people say that OKC is a boring team to watch because they're always shooting free throws. Watch their defense. Watch their defense and just watch how they suffocate these superstars of Anthony Edwards. And I just think that the defense combined with Shai's beautiful offense carrying this team, and then with the beautiful support cast that they have, I think this series is completely over.
Yeah, everyone who played 12+ minutes recorded at least 1 steal in the game, Oscar. You're right.
Yeah, there you go. It's just everyone, the deflections to the double teams to the rotations have just been a beautiful thing to watch as a basketball fan. And it's not always on the offensive side is going to be the prettiest watch, but watch the defense.
Yeah, before I let the 2 people that incorrectly picked this series speak, I'm going to have some points as well. Because, look, Oscar Wack, we saw this coming, I think. And honestly, the way that OKC looked in the first 2 games at home as well, I really just did not see a scenario where Minnesota could come back. And Ruben, I think you owe an apology to a lot of people, if I'm being honest. Firstly, I think you owe an apology to Oklahoma City in general, because Denver, I think you are completely underrating them, okay? When you have the best player in the world, who is Jokic, you are going to be competitive in every single series you play, okay? So I think it's not so much the fact that OKC didn't look as impressive against Denver, But Denver were a good team, okay? They were a very, very good team. And I think that was the first point where both of you went wrong in assessing this series, is you actually completely underrated Denver and how good they were. And also, you completely overrated how good the Steph Curry-less Warriors were, okay? And again, and I said this at the start of the series, this I think really showed how we all, including myself, completely misjudged the Lakers. Because you look at the way Minnesota's getting manhandled right now, you look at the way Minnesota got manhandled the Lakers, it makes me think the Lakers were really so far off it, and we were all a bit deceived because of the glitz and the glamour of LeBron and Doncic about how good the Lakers were. Ruben, the second person I think you owe an apology to is Jalen Williams, okay? Because quite frankly, he has been
Yeah.
outstanding in this series, particularly in the fourth quarter. Okay, game 2, fourth quarter, Jalen Williams, 11
Sorry,
points,
Jalen.
5 of 7 shooting. Okay, game 4, fourth quarter, Jalen Williams, 14 points, 5 of 7 shooting. Okay, he has been unbelievable in this series. Okay, when you needed him to come along for the ride in game 4, he had 34 points, 13 of 24 shooting. He has been just as pivotal of a reason, in my opinion, as Shai Gilgeous was. He had 9 points, okay, towards the end of the fourth quarter, where he hit 3 threes in nearly back-to-back possessions in game 4. I think he has been just as important as Shai when it comes to how they've looked this series. And also, Jalen Williams has taken on a lot of the brunt guarding Anthony Edwards as well, as has Caruso, who have really just been able to slow him down. And they've either forced him into taking a lot of shots because Anthony Edwards looks at his box score and says, oh, 13 shots, I should be taking more shots than that. And then in the next game, just jacks them up for the sake of jacking them up. Okay, or they're forcing him to less shots because they are making him really work on the offensive side of the ball. And that's all I really have to say. But I think, Ruben, you owe some people some apologies, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Look, I only owe one person an apology, and you've already said it. It's J-Dub. When I looked at Nuggets last season, I don't think I've overrated them. Like, you've lost a head coach who's been there for 10 seasons with a new inexperienced head coach. And then you got starters surrounding Jokic that are not as good as 2 seasons ago. You look at MPJ shooting poorly from 3. Aaron Gordon not healthy in Game 7. Jamal Murray hardly inconsistent. So, look, I don't agree with that, but you're right. J-Dub I owe an apology to. J-Dub was very inconsistent, but he's just stepped up. And Chet Holmgren as well. He's massively stepped up too, offensively and defensively. And I don't want to be too harsh on Minnesota because I think overall they've been really good in this playoffs. I think this series is more about how good OKC are and their defense rather than Minnesota's downfall. When you look at every time Minnesota dribble the ball, you got Caruso, Cason Wallace, blitzing, picking up the dribble. I was screaming at my TV multiple times, going, you need to work on your handle in the offseason. But I don't think it's the handle. I think it's their defense. So, look, the Thunder have just shown that this is why they're the best team in the West. And I was worried last series because of how young and inexperienced they are in the playoffs, that maybe they can't step up in the conference finals and the finals. But I think they've shown that they can now when you look at their amazing offense and their amazing defense. So this is more down to OKC rather than Minnesota.
Yeah, look, agreeing with Ruben on this, but I don't owe any individuals an apology. I didn't take any jabs at anyone. No, but like underrating Denver, I don't necessarily think so. As Ruben's pointed out, I do think they're significantly weaker than they've previously been, and the ability for Denver to win a few games over OKC, like the best team in the West, that's what put a little bit of what's the word? Like it's some threat in my mind. Like
Doubt.
okay, yeah, some doubt in my mind, and I guess it was really shown in Game 4 as well, that doubt, how, in my eyes, significantly weaker than they've been in previous years. As Ruben stated, with the head coach, starters, inconsistency
Injuries.
from the injuries as well. So that just put a bit of doubt in my mind that, okay, OKC should be the best team in the West, and they're losing some of these games against a weaker team. So that just put doubt in my mind coming into this Timberwolves series. And in Game 4, it sort of showed. I know they got the job done, but the fact that the Timberwolves had 20 turnovers, Edwards 16 points, Julius 5 points, and then you got a Shea 40 bomb, J-Dub 30 bomb, and they still only won by 2 points. So I understand they still got the job done, but the fact that they could have dropped that game as well is why I had that slight edge for the Timberwolves. But obviously they're up 3-1, so disregard that. Um, but yeah, that was my reasoning behind the Timberwolves take.
Well, when you look at Minnesota, I'll just say quickly as well. The stars on the bench just haven't aligned for Minnesota. Like when you look at the first two games, Nas Reed, Dante couldn't buy three, but then you look at last game where they have 60 bench points, and you can't have the stars stepping up. I think consistently a really poor player actually has been Rudy Gobert, but
Yeah,
that's not a surprise when you look at his
as
flaws at
per usual.
recent playoff series. Yeah, as per usual. Uh, it's like it's almost as if Rudy Gobert was an imposter the first two rounds and then showing his true colors in the third round. And maybe you
Yeah,
could say the
well,
same about
also, but
Julius.
the Thunder actually have like two big men like that can
Mm,
share the court at the same time. It's not like you have Jackson Hayes floating around out there.
he wasn't even
Well,
there
no,
one game.
well, no.
Yeah, wasn't there?
He wasn't even there one game.
I'm not sure if you want Jackson Hayes. I'm not sure if that would be that much of a help looking at the Lakers.
No, but no, I just think that as you said, is the bench and the stars haven't aligned for the Timberwolves. They haven't played well to like at the same time. When you look at OKC, the depth and everyone's doing their role so well. You know, Shea's doing his role well, J-Dub's doing his role well, and then the bench, you are getting some those fast break points off steals. You know, in the second and third quarter when they come on, you are getting those steals and that fast break, that production from them that just it's just 24/7. Timberwolves are getting suffocated by this OKC defense.
But that's more defensive production. Like it's no
No,
secret,
but
and this. But
yeah.
I'm just saying, there's stats to back it up that benches historically do not play as well on the road. Okay, and I get like yeah, like you have a Nas Reed like six man of the year, like whatever, but benches do not play as well on the road. So I am not surprised, okay, that Minnesota's bench has only started coming to play good once it's at home, okay? And on those road games, that is when your stars need to come and show why they are the best players in the world. And OKC's three best players combined for 95 points, okay, and Minnesota's two best players combined for 21 points. The fact that OKC is forcing Nikhil Alexander Walker to be your second best player, in my opinion, for the entire team this series, okay, says how good OKC is, okay, at shutting you down and at funneling shots to other people. And I think that you look at this series from back to front, OKC has the more consistent team and they have the best player in this series, okay, and in my opinion, they have the second best player in this series too, because I think Jalen Williams has been better than any player on Minnesota
Agree.
throughout the course of this series, particularly when you look at fourth quarter performances.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I 100%
I
agree.
agree.
I think that, I mean, you had these two last episode saying that Anthony Edwards was going to be this big savior, and he's just been locked up as he did in the regular in those regular season games. He got
I didn't
locked
say he
up.
was going to
So
be a sa- I didn't say he was going to be a
Well,
savior.
I said, hang on. I said Shea was going to have the better series, but I was
no,
expecting
well,
the other
you
plays
said
to
it.
come along as well.
Ant scored 16 points in 40 minutes last game. That just can't happen. Like he's supposed to be the guy, and he can't get shots off in the fourth.
Yeah, but that's good. But that's a credit of OKC and their defense. They're the best team in the NBA in
I
the
know, but
West.
when you're a
So
superstar
I
of
don't
the,
think it's on.
but I think it's on Ant 100%. Because when you are the superstar of a team and this team needs you to score points and needs you to get shots off, it doesn't matter what the defense is doing. You still need to be able to go and absolutely try and fry the opponent. Otherwise, you're just done. Well, you're just going to give up. Like I think Ant needs to step up, especially now because they're going to lose the series. But I think Ant needed to step up and needed to be able to just deal with this defense because he's this big arrogant guy, he's this big ego guy, and he's getting absolutely destroyed by this defense.
Well, I think with Ant, a lot of the time, yeah, he has the mid range, yeah, he has the three, but a lot of his game is driving, and when it involves dribbling, they pick your pockets. The Thunder, like Lucas said, everyone that played above 12 minutes had a steal, so that's eliminating Ant's game overall. He can't get into the game. He's trying
Okay,
to
but
play make,
Anthony
but he's
Edwards
not
also
playing
led
make.
the entire NBA in 3-pointers made this season, so he can do it from a variety of different ways, and we've seen him not be able to do it from any real way at all.
Well, I think it just goes back to because Ant hasn't been poor. He's had some really good games. It just hasn't been consistent enough for him
I
to be
think Ant's
considered a
been poor.
superstar.
I think
And I
Ant's
think
been
that's why it
poor.
shows that
I
Shea's
think
better.
he had a good. I
I
think he had
consider
a good
Ant as
half.
the
He
performer for
had a good
sure.
half where they blew them out, but I think he's had a pretty poor series, to be honest. It might not look like that with the overall stats, but I think the stats are very deceiving
And I
in this
think that
series to how
3-1,
he's
I think
actually
that
played.
3-1 also is a credit to him just playing poorly. You know, you're supposed to be the superstar on this team, and you're scoring 16 points when you're about to go down 3-1. And shooting 14% from three.
I mean,
You know,
also like from like the previous series, he hasn't like Timberwolves have still won without Ant scoring big as well, and Game 4 was close without him doing as much. So I know he's meant to be the man, but Timberwolves can still get it done without Ant having to carry all the load.
yeah, but
But
you
I do still think he's underperformed the series.
you need the bench production, which you're not always going to get. I know what you're saying is they can get it done, but you need the bench to perform. And they, apart from last game, they haven't really been, and the game where they got blown out, they haven't really been doing that. So it's like it's that like catch 22. Well, is it gonna be and the starters, or is it gonna be the bench? But it needs to be both, and they both need to step up against a team like
Yeah.
OKC.
Because I know before this game 4, Ant has been thinking, oh, if only I had Nas Reed making his threes and not making a single three on the road against Oklahoma. If only I had Nickeil Alexander-Walker not going 1 for 9 in game 1. I know exactly that's what he's thinking in his mind. So you cannot afford in that game where you get 65 points from your bench, okay, to then have that lackluster of an offensive performance, because that is what cost your team the series at the end of the day, okay? And Randall, even to an extent, okay, even if Anthony Edwards is having an off night, you can't both have an off night in the most important game of your entire season.
That's
You
Randall's
can't
fault.
do it.
He's a fraud. That's Randall's
So
fault.
listen, guys, Tyson, do you give the Timberwolves any shot of coming
No
back in
way.
this series moving forward?
Uh, since it's 3-1, no, not really. No. If it was 2-2, then I'd still consider it. But now,
And Oscar, follow-up question, I guess. If you're the Thunder right now, I think, who are you wanting to play in the NBA Finals? Are you thinking you want the Pacers,
Oh,
or would you rather the Knicks?
well, probably, I'd probably want the Knicks because if I'm OKC, the Knicks are playing worse. So and I think that OKC is a very, very, very tough matchup for the Knicks with their suffocating defense. Um, but you know, either way, whoever makes it, I think OKC is winning. So
Yeah, I don't think any matchup would be an easy matchup for OKC, but I think when you look at fatigue and when you look at
what do you mean? I
how
think the Knicks will
New
be
York
a
have performed
way
against
easier
Indiana.
matchup.
Well, I think OKC would rather play New York
Yeah.
than Indiana. I think just based off recency bias and everything, I'd
And
probably
just
say
but I
you'd
think
rather play New York.
OKC play with that kind of Pacers pace that let's smother them, let's get steals, like especially on the defensive end, and let's get out into transition. They like doing that.
Well, and the amount that Shea foul baits as well, he'll get the Knicks in
Oh,
foul trouble again earlier,
yeah,
and they'll have to
100%.
rely on the bench again. So yeah,
But
it falls
it's
perfectly to
not
their game plan.
it's not looking like that way, is it? The Knicks for the Knicks. So
Yeah, it's not been great.
no.
but
They-
I so, bit off. I'll come back to that actually. But OKC. Look, honestly, I don't think they really care like that much who they're going to verse.
I don't think so either.
I don't think it's going to make a drastic difference. Maybe somewhat close instead of 30-point blowout, maybe 20. I don't know. But but what I just had a little look. Timberwolves versus Knicks isn't out yet, out of consideration yet for a finals matchup. Priceless picks here. We got Timberwolves to beat New York, $176 odds, or
Wow.
New York to beat the Timberwolves, $226 odds.
Wow.
So
There it
if you
is.
want to consider
Put
value,
five on each.
if you want to consider
Priceless picks.
value,
Little gold coin donation. Little gold coin.
like you said, anything's a possibility. So
Look, I don't hate it, to be honest with you.
I hate it.
Look, for the odds, look,
Don't
I'm
put more
I'm
than
a
a gold
man who
coin on
likes.
it. Don't put more
I'm a
than a
man
gold
who
coin on
likes
it.
some value, okay, and in my opinion, that's good value considering how we
Don't put
have
more.
seen
Don't put more than a gold coin on it,
how
everyone.
we have seen, in today's NBA, things
Oh.
can flip around, okay, very, very quickly. Look, I sort of agree. I think personally the Knicks would probably cause more problems for the Thunder defensively. I think just with what they can throw at them. Like, I don't think that the Pacers, I think that from an offensive side of the ball, I think like the Pacers nearly play into OKC's hands in a way, Oscar, with what you're saying almost. And I don't think OKC's the type of team that would get gassed out. But I think Knicks and OKC, I think it would just be a defensive nightmare for the Knicks with the way that OKC can funnel shots, with the way that they can turn you, into one-on-one players. Sorry, one-on-one players, but not with your best players, like having those one-on-one matchups, forcing your second, your third, your fourth best player into ISO ball. So yeah, I definitely think I would rather play the Knicks too, but I think that both matchups I think favor OKC, at least on paper. It's interesting when we get into an NBA Finals preview once this series is over. But guys, that is all we have time for today. We will be back next week for an NBA Finals preview, unless we see miraculous Game 7 appear. Then we might be back just for some bit more conference finals action. We're going to be giving you the NBA Finals preview. We're also going to go through some series predictions and some picks like we did for this series. We will see how we go. But guys, make sure to always follow on Instagram, on TikTok. Both will be posted under the handle below in the description at Priceless Takes. Boys, thank you for joining me today as always.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank
Luca.
you.
I am your host, Luca Price. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Priceless Takes, and we will see you next time.